In this commentary I will be reviewing the Saiga-12 shotgun. The Saiga is visually patterned after the Kalashnikov series of assault rifles, and the 12 stands for the most commonly used caliber, 12 gauge. It has a semi-automatic firing mode and it is fed from a magazine, so you always have to go through the full reload no matter how many shells you fire per magazine. Also, I will compare the Saiga to the other rapid fire shotguns, and by rapid fire I simply classify all semi-automatic and automatic shotguns. With the pump actions, you obviously have to go through that pump cycle each time you fire the weapon and you have to load the next shell. But with the automatics you can just push down the trigger, or in this case the mouse button, and pretty much have rapid fire. And yeah, for the semi-automatics you have to click spam, but in the end it boils down to the same result. With the clarification issues out of the way, let's get to the weapon at hand. The Saiga-12 is tied with the Sparse-15 for highest magazine capacity for rapid fire shotguns, and that is a very straightforward advantage. Higher magazine capacity means more playroom and more damage potential, so in theory you can take out more enemies per magazine than with the users or the sooner or later to be released MK3A1. The reload time accounts for 4.2 seconds, which is the best reload time of all rapid fire shotguns, so you have a tiny advantage compared to the users or Sparse-15, and compared to the MK3A1 it's actually already a decent advantage of 0.8 seconds difference. The Saiga-12 fires 6 pellets per shot, and each pellet does damage individually, which means you can also have a partial hit or partial miss, so to speak, whereas with conventional weapons you always have a hit or miss situation. Assuming that all pellets hit, you have a guaranteed one-shot kill until 3 meters and a guaranteed 2-shot kill until 15 meters. But yeah, that's just theory crafting, because you have quite a lot of deviation. The Saiga-12 is actually one of the more accurate shotguns in this game, but still. I won't dictate you until which range you should use the Saiga-12 or any other rapid fire shotgun for that matter, but if you want a recommendation, I would advise you to use it until 15 meters. And why? Because initial damage of 22 to 24 per pellet starts at 0 meters and it drops down to 10 to 14 damage per pellet at medium range of 15 meters. That's your medium range damage. And beyond 50 meters it starts to drop down to long range damage values of 5 to 7 damage per shot, per pellet, and that starts at 25 meters, but the transition also starts beyond 50 meters because of the linear damage drop, same as with the transition from initial to medium range. The cool thing about the Saiga is MinDev mod zoom. It is 0, and that means that for aiming down sight you only have sub-projectile deviation left, because for shotguns you have your normal initial deviation, and on top of that you have just another type of deviation called sub-projectile deviation, which is added to initial deviation. So the real first shot deviation for shotguns and the AN-49 Abakan is initial deviation plus sub-projectile deviation. And because of min-def mod zoom being 0, you only have sub-projectile deviation left when aiming non-sight. So yeah, it's actually quite that's actually quite an improvement for deviation when aiming non-sight with the Saiga. And yeah, and if the situation allows for it, like if your enemy is not right up in your face, I definitely recommend aiming non-sight with the Saiga. If you want to know the deviation data, I will leave a link in the description to the sheet where I have all of the deviation data stored. And there's another nice aspect of the Saiga-12 which is actually unique for rapid fire shotguns. It has go back on recoil set to 1. And that means that almost all of your recoil is automatically compensated. So you basically don't have to worry about recoil and you can just fire away. Whereas with all other rapid fire shotguns, whether it is a Sparse 15, any user's version and the MK3 A1, you have to control your recoil. Of course, it's probably not that aggravating in close quarter combat, but still, it's a nice feature to have, and if you can have it, why not? Just to have it mentioned here, projectile velocity accounts for 800 meters per second. Not really important for close quarters because you're not going to do any long range shooting, but yeah, can't hurt to have a high projectile velocity. The Saiga-12 has an ADS time of 0.08 seconds, which is almost as fast as submachine gun ADS time. So you are very flexible in close quarters and have the leeway of aiming on sight when you want to. Rate of fire accounts for 240 rounds per minute, which is tied with the Sparse 15 and MK3A1 for rate of fire, and the users is slightly better with a rate of fire of 300 rounds per minute. In my opinion, 240 rounds per minute is enough in close quarters, especially when you know how to place your shots, and the slightly higher rate of fire of the users is not really required. However, that is just my personal opinion. I don't want to influence you, it's up to you what kind of weapon you want to play. I just wanted to present to you the stats of the Saiga-12 and make for an objective review, and that covers the Saiga part. I will do some, so to speak, tactics part for the rest of the commentary. Rapid fire shotguns are more forgiving in close quarters than pump action shotguns because you can create a net of rapid fire, and even if you don't get your enemy with the first or second shot, you might still get him with the third shot. But even with rapid fire shotguns, it's actually quite rewarding to be accurate and have a decent aiming. And even with shotguns you actually have to aim, because for the simple reason, if you don't have the crosshair on your enemy, you miss. Simple as that. And good reaction times are also necessary because if you don't react fast enough, you are toast, no matter what type of weapon you use. So, aiming and reaction times. But with shotguns, there's also another type of challenge, which is logistic. You have to get close to your enemy, so you have to use the terrain to avoid situations where you would be forced into a long range engagement. And so you have to make use of the terrain to enforce close range encounters. And It can be pretty fun to do that, but at times it can also be very frustrating when the enemy is not playing to your game, like when they are exceptionally trying to stay safe from the close quarters. So yeah, it can be fun, but it has also its downsides. I like the motion sensor of the recon because yeah, it allows me to spot my enemies in close range and prepare for the engagement and perhaps even catch them off guard. That's actually I think rapid fire shotguns suit the recon class the best because yeah, you have your advantage of preparing for the combat situation in close range, and then you can just dish out the damage. Whereas with a medic, I lean more towards using pump action shotguns because even in case you get hit, you can still heal yourself up as long as you are not dead. And just in case you're interested, during the time of this recording, I used Mortar Strike on level 5, which was quite helpful in some situations, but it definitely needs some planning to it because the radius is nowhere near the pre-booster state. Not really pre-booster, but when the boosters were imbalanced. Okay, that also covers the commentary part as a whole. I will leave some music for the rest of the video.